Shri Sai Ram. Dear students, hearty welcome to one and all for the 10th class State Syllabus Science Textbook 2 and the chapter Heredity and Evolution. Dear students, the chapter will be understood under 8 parts, and today we will be dealing with the part 1, which mainly the introductory and also the genetics. The whole creation is having only two things, living and non-living, which we call in biologically as biotic, refers to living, and abiotic refers to non-living. The biotic, the living organism study, is called as biology, and these living organisms have a number of unique characteristics, and out of them reproduction is a unique character in living organisms, most important for their progeny to continue. Hence, the reproduction, a unique character in living organisms in order to retain and sustain their progeny. This reproduction on the basis of the type of organism, whether it may be a prokaryote, a unicellular, a eukaryote, a multicellular, a vertebrate, an invertebrate, or if we come across the flowering plants, the non-flowering plants, the algae, on the basis of variety of living organisms and their complexion in their organization of the body, the reproduction is of 3 types: the vegetative reproduction, the asexual reproduction, or sexual reproduction. Any type of reproduction which leads to their offsprings, and the offsprings that are born will be having few similar qualities and few dissimilar qualities. This sort of similar qualities and the dissimilar qualities led to a group of people start to think, reason, detect, investigate, and finally it led to a new branch of biology, and that is genetics. These observations made by such group of people who studied about the living organism's reproductive system, we call them as biologists. So, these observations made by biologists led to a unique branch called as genetics. Then what this genetics is? The genetics is a branch of biology which deals with the study of heredity and variation. Gregor Johann Mendel is called as the father of genetics. Dear students, you are viewing the picture of Gregor Johann Mendel, which we will be studying about his contributions in the further parts of this chapter. The term genetics was coined by William Batson in the year 1906. Here you can observe the physical picture of William Batson. So, a genetics, which is a unique branch in biology, which deals with the heredity and variation. What the heredity is? The transmission of characters from parents to the offsprings. The hereditary information, in fact, is present where? In the gametes. Egg in the females and sperm in the males, which starts to fuse. The egg and the sperm fuse to form the zygote, and the zygote that is being formed during sexual reproduction, the development of the zygote into an organism of a particular type, the heredity, the characters of the parents are transferred to their offsprings when? During sexual reproduction. How? The fusion of the male gamete called the sperm and the female gamete called the egg. They fuse and they form a zygote, and the zygote on further development gives rise to the offspring, and that offspring will be having the characters, not all the characters, few characters of either father or mother. If you observe the pictures here, the egg laying animals, which we call them as in biological term as oviparous organisms, the animals which give birth to their young ones, viviparous. Here you see the mammals, here you see the apes or the birds. In the birds, the cock which has been, the hen which has been laid the eggs here. And these eggs for a period of time get hatched, and the chickens that are going to come out, and they will be resembling their parent. Here you can observe very directly the gorilla that has been given birth to its young one, and it also resembles the mother. So the transmission of characters from parents to the offsprings is called as heredity. If you observe here, the twin children similar in their appearance. If you observe here, the father carrying his son, their physical appearance is of same, which shows there is transmission of characters. Variation. The differences in the traits. Here traits means character. The differences in the traits shown by the individuals of a species, also by the offsprings, we call them as siblings also, of the same parents is referred to as variation. Difference in the characters, dissimilar features from their parents and also their children. That is called as variation. It is observed both in asexual and sexual reproduction also. But the variation in asexual reproduction is of less. But the sexual reproduction, the variation is of more, which we will understand further now. Asexual reproduction involves a single parent when a single individual reproduces asexually. So, asexual reproduction, single parent undergoes the reproduction, and the resultant offsprings would be similar and very minor differences between them. It generates little diversity. Sexual reproduction. Higher organisms we see involves two parents, father and mother. Their gametes fuse to form the zygote. The father produces the gametes called sperms, and the mother produces the gametes called egg or ova, and they start to fuse combined, and it forms the zygote, which further develops into embryo and offspring or new individual. Every offspring receives some characters of father and mother. Hence, they generate greater diversity. So in sexual reproduction, there is greater diversity, whereas asexual reproduction, there is less diversity. That is being observed. During sexual reproduction, the variations are caused by, why in sexual reproduction we see very much variations than in asexual reproduction? In sexual reproduction, the variation is more because of the following reasons. The chance of separation of chromosomes during gamete formation, that is gametogenesis. So when the gametes are formed, there is a separation of the chromosomes which leads to the variations in their offsprings. Crossing over during meiosis. Meiosis is a type of cell division. It is a reproductive cell division. It is a reductional cell division. Takes place only in the reproductive cells. That too during the maturity level. And this during meiosis, the chromosomes undergo crossing over. The homologous chromosomes, a paternal and a maternal chromosome. With their crossing over, there is exchange of genes or characters. Due to this crossing over during meiosis, the variations occur. During fertilization, the zygote that is being obtained, then during the fertilization process, by the union of male and female gamete during that process. Mutation, sudden change in the characters. There is chromosomal mutation and there is gene mutation. Either the mutation, the change in the character, or the change in the carrier of the character. Chromosomes are the vehicles of genes, dear students. And there may be change in these chromosomes, or there will be change in the genes. Sudden change, that too. That sudden change in the genes is called as mutation. So mutation, alteration in genetic material. So the variation occurs because of all these processes in higher organisms, the two which are unisexual and the two which undergo sexual reproduction. Then we see variation in large amount. If you observe here, the father carrying his son, the eye color, the grey eyes of the father, but the child eyeballs, if you observe the color of the eyeballs of the child and father, there is variation. The external ear pinna, dear children, this is ear pinna. It's a vestigial organ, but it gives shape to the ear. If you observe the ear pinna of the various pictures which is being depicted here of various personalities, the shape of the ear pinna differs there. There is variation. Dear students, in today's class under the chapter Heredity and Evolution, hope we all have understood the first part, which is the introductory, and also about the genetics, which deals with the heredity and variation. I hope all of you have understood. For the better understanding, the assignment 1. First question. If a triad A exists in 10% of a population of an asexual reproducing species, and a triad B exists in 60% of the same population, which triad is likely to have arisen earlier? Second question. How does the creation of variations in a species ensure survival? Here I would like to give you a clue here. Very important. According to the changes, circumstances, we have to undergo some changes in order to sustain. That we call it as survival of the fittest. What are the changes that is created in our surroundings? We should be capable to adjust to that and also to change our attitudes also. Then only it is possible to survive. The variations are mainly meant for survival only. Define, the third question, define heredity and variation. Dear students, the today's part 1, genetics of the chapter heredity and evolution, what all we have understood according to the 10th level of their IQ, we are offering at the lotus feet of the Almighty. Have a good time. Thanking you one and all. Let the whole world be peaceful and happy. Thanking you. Jai Sai Ram.